Today I've decided it's time to have a look at my end of year financial audit. I'm going to do this in, I think, probably two sections, because there are bills that are already set for the year which have already been finalised, because we are now almost in December, and although I still have regular bills going out for the rest of the year, some of them won't change now. And then there are other things that will continue to change, so I will need to do that as a second chunk. The problem is that because I go away for Christmas and New Year, I don't have many recording opportunities, so I want to get a chunk of it out the way now, and then hopefully I can get the rest done while I'm away after the end of the year. And if not, then I will have to do this when I get back in the new year, and it'll be a 2024 review in early 2025. So that's why you'll probably see the background change and all that sort of thing. But I want to go through the basics here that I know aren't going to change, and I'm particularly interested to see how the prices have changed this year, because there are some things you can haggle on, like you can try and get your car insurance down, you can try and renegotiate your phone or your car breakdown, but there are also things that you're stuck with, like the rent, like the council tax, and they're all things that you can't negotiate and go somewhere else for. You're stuck with them. So I wanted to look and see how that had changed. So I'm going to get started on the things that are set in stone, the things that I know the payments won't change for the rest of the year, and we'll have a look at how much extra that's cost me this year. And there are also one or two things that have actually gone down in cost, so that's really good. So the first thing, the worst thing, let's get it out the way, is rent. My rent has been going up for the last, I think, 3 years. It's been going up £50 or £75 a year, and it's annoying because when I first moved here in 2018 and right up until I think 2022, my rent never changed. My rent was always £495 a month, and then each year it's crept up a little bit and a little bit, and I know that my new neighbours who moved downstairs are paying what I would consider to be a lot more than I'm paying, so I know that this is also going to go up again next year. So my rent in 2023 across the whole year was £6,750. This year, because of the rise, now the rise doesn't come in until October, so it's only 3 months of the year where my rent goes up, and that's gone up to a total payment in 2024 of £7,425. That effectively means that my rent has gone up by 1 month's rent in terms of the new amount, so that's £675. That's what it's cost me more this year, and that is all actually, that's how much my rent amount is every month now, is £675. And I'm paying for a 2-bedroom town centre flat with private parking. So it's not horrific, and I know it's a hell of a lot better than a lot of other places in the country. The other thing that has kind of changed is gas and electric. I am extremely careful about how I use my energy. I can't control the standing charges, that's where most of the money goes, but I can control how much I use. And so what I do, because I pay a direct debit every month, I use the direct debit as my this is what I've spent, because that's the money that goes out the bank, although my usage is quite low. So last year my gas and electric for 2023 came to £431.16, and I think it was January, where I voluntarily put up my direct debits because prices were starting to rise, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough in reserve so that they wouldn't automatically say, well, you're not going to have enough in the bank by the end of the year, we're going to put it up, and then they choose an amount, and this way they've left me alone. So in total I went from paying, I think it was £35.93 a month last year, and I put it up to £40 a month direct debit. So this year I have paid £480 in direct debits for my gas and electric. That has increased my gas and electric on last year by £48.84. I do have money in the account, so I know now that my gas and electric for this year is going to come to about £520 because of the energy price rise in October, which has gone up by 10%. But I know that although I've only put 480 in, I have enough in the reserve that they'll leave me alone. What else has changed? Council tax, obviously. Council tax, another fabulous rip-off that we have to put up with. Last year I paid £1,037 for my council tax. I'm a Band A property because it's a flat. I also get the 25% discount because I'm a single person. So that came to £1,037. This year, because of the price rises, that went up to £1,089.17, which was a rise on my council tax for 2024 of £52.17, and we did not get anything more for it. Water. Water is something else that I can control. I'm on a water meter, which means that I can control how much water I use, and unlike the gas and electric, there isn't a whopping great standing charge getting in the way of that. So I can decide. I can't read my water meter. It's down in the path outside, and every 6 months they come and read, and then they'll put the readings onto my account and they'll update my direct debit based on my usage. So I'm never quite sure what it's going to be, but I always keep my water usage the same. I'm incredibly careful with my water, and I will put a little picture up there which shows how much water I've used this year. So last year my water bill came to £152.68 for the year. This year I think it's price rises, VAT's gone up, all that sort of thing, because my usage hasn't really changed. It's gone up to £175.87, which is a total rise for this year of £23.19. The other thing that went up this year, and that is another rip-off, and I know that everybody was complaining about this, is car insurance. So last year my car insurance was £241.61. This year it was £313.60, which is a rise of £71.99, and I found a discount on that because I'm with eSure. When I had my renewal through on eSure, it was double that. I think it was even more than double that. And I went on to the price comparison tools, and eSure was showing much lower than what I was paying. I spoke to eSure and they were like, well, if you don't like the price, leave. They didn't care, they had no interest. So I didn't renew my current policy, and then I went back onto eSure and bought it at the new price because it was still the cheapest. I didn't want to do it because the principle of it was that, you know, if you're a renewing customer, you don't make savings, they just think they can rip you off. But they still were the cheapest insurance. I went with the eSure Flex, fully comprehensive. I always go fully comp, and so it only cost me £71.99 more than £140. That really cheeses me off. That's really disgraceful. What else? So I've lumped in my insurances together because I have other insurances. So my home contents insurance and then my business insurance. So they're kind of lumped in together. So in total for the two, my insurances last year were £531.39. I only have home contents insurance. I wouldn't bother with it, but it's tied to my rental agreement because there are fixtures and fittings in the flat which are my responsibility but belong to the landlord, and it's totally legal and above board for them to do this. Some places do it, a lot of places don't, so a lot of renters don't have any insurance, but it means if you damage something inside the property like the carpets or, I don't know, radiators or something like that, you'll have to pay for that. So I think that did go up a bit this year. However, with my business insurance, because my business is in my spare bedroom, which is next door, I need to be covered for you know, if something happens, like the roof falls in or the flat burns down, everything of my business is in there, my machinery's in there, all my stock is in there. And I had been with Simply Business for quite a while. They're quite expensive, they were fully comprehensive, but there are certain things that you can't detach from their insurance policies, like certain kinds of liabilities, which I no longer needed. I used to need them, I don't need them anymore. So I had a shop around, and in the end I went on to Direct Line, who don't appear on price comparison sites. You have to go direct to Direct Line, and the insurance was something like £250 cheaper. So I ended up paying £69.25 for my business insurance, which basically covers my stock. It covers my machinery. It covers any tech that is part of the business, so my laptop is covered under that, because with my home contents policy, because I'm forced to take out that policy, I've whittled it down to the basics. So it only covers the landlord property, and it covers I think it covers food in the freezer and a couple of other little bits. But most of my tech is too old, they won't insure it. Like my phone is 4 years old. Most tech they will only cover up to a year old anyway. You wouldn't get a claim on it, so there's no point in me insuring mobile phones. And I've insured my laptop through my business this year because it's new, it's less than a year old, and I need it for business more than anything. So that is covered. So my total saving on insurance this year across those two policies was £236.36, which I think is pretty good. Peugeot, I have a service and MOT policy with Peugeot, which you pay into each month over the course of the year, and then you go in, you have your yearly service and MOT, and that pays for it, provided there's nothing really outstanding that you need to pay for, which might even be something like a tyre or something like that. So last year, so what happens is you take out the policy over 3 years, and when you get to the end of the 3 years, the last 2 months you don't pay for because of the way the payments work out. So last year was a full year, so that came to £288, and I like it because you get discounts on parts and things when you have the work done at Peugeot, even when it's standard stuff, and it means that when it gets to service and MOT time, I'm not worrying about paying for that. And very often I come out of there not having to pay anything because my car usually passes its MOT and the service is pretty standard. This year, because this year was a new service package year, so I've now started a new 3 years. So you get the first 2 months of the year, I think, you don't pay anything because the policy's already caught up with itself, and then you start paying for it the 2 months later when you go in for your service and MOT, which for me is in March. So this year that has cost me £239.88, which means it has saved me this year £48.12, which is pretty good. My phone, I split my phone equally between business and personal because I just use the same mobile phone. I'm on Smarty, which is a pretty dreadful service, but it's cheap, £18.75 a month for unlimited calls, texts, and 4G internet. The internet doesn't work that well, but I can still use it as much as I like. And there are some months where I use huge amounts of data because I'm watching a lot of YouTube, I'm using it a lot, I'm uploading videos to YouTube for my work and all that sort of thing. So I go through a ton of data. So I split that equally between personal and business, and that's £112.50 split. And that never changes. That's a lifetime policy. So in all the years that I've been with Smarty, that policy has never changed, and that is the other thing I like about it. It's a guarantee, it's a lifetime. As long as I stay with that contract, that 30-day rolling contract, they will never put the price up, and that's one less thing to worry about. Car breakdown, I am with Emergency Assist. I very rarely use them, so I begrudge having to pay for it, but it's peace of mind. I'm often driving out in places that might be quite remote. I'm always driving alone. I often do long distance travel, and you need to have breakdown cover. So I have the full-on policy that covers everything. Last year it was £45.42 for the year. This year it went down to £43, so that gave me a saving of £2.42. We'll see what happens next year. And for the moment, that is all my main things. There are lots of other things in terms of expenses which I need to talk about nearer the time when I know what I've actually spent. So there is the petrol category, there is the food category, and there is what I call the everything else category, so anything that doesn't fit a normal bill. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to review my income and look at all the income streams I've got and see what I've earned this year. Income has been better this year than last year, and once I've made my spreadsheets for 2025, which I will do while I'm away for Christmas, I sit down and I make up the new spreadsheets and I start looking at it, and that helps me to then see where the gaps are and make new predictions, and then I can start seeing where things are going to change. I have quite a lot of short-term savings accounts at the moment because I knew the interest rates were going to change, and interest rates are coming down on variable accounts, but some of mine are fixed interest regular savers, so although there are small amounts going in, they've got bigger interest rates, and that's going to be an advantage for me in terms of income. So that's part one, so to speak, and then there will be part two, which will be the rest of the outgoings which haven't been finalised, and then there will be a part three which will be income, but it will all be on this one video. So there will be extra, as you have seen, little pictures going on, little figures going on up there to fill in what I'm saying, and I hope that all makes sense. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so here I am in a completely different location. This financial audit, they take a while to do, and I've obviously just completed the main bulk of it, but I have a few things that I needed to finish off for the outgoings because I hadn't finished buying, paying, whatever. Those three things are now done, and they are how much I spent on food this year. So my food bill has been considerably bigger than last year's, but still a lot lower than other people's because I only shop for discounts and yellow stickers, and I use Nectar points and cashback sites. Last year my food budget came to £120.29. That's what I spent on food. This year it's £312.71, which is almost a £200 difference. And I wouldn't say I've been spending any more money than usual. It's just that prices have gone up. So when the prices go up, the percentage off of, say, a yellow sticker item will also be up. There are less cashback options coming up on the cashback sites that I use. You're not seeing as many good deals there, and you just have to roll with it. What else can you do? The other thing that I've spent on, which I was waiting until I came away for Christmas because I had to fill my car up, was petrol. So last year I spent £374.05 on petrol across the entire year. This year it's coming slightly over, and I blame me driving over to see my best friend and back because that wiped out almost half a tank, and that came to £385.15 spent on petrol this year, which isn't bad considering how many hikes I've done. I've done all those different hikes, so I've been driving out more than I did last year. So it's only an £11.10 increase, so that's not bad.
And the other category is what I call my everything else category. And that's basically everything that doesn't fall into any of the previous categories. So that includes anything that I get at the supermarket that isn't classed as food, so cleaning products, things like that. Anything medical, such as over-the-counter paracetamol, anything like that. My dentist, because I go to the dentist every 3 months, that costs me almost £400 a year alone. Presents for anything, any food eaten out, which doesn't really happen, any DIY costs, the postage for personal sales, like if I have a declutter and I sell some personal items wherever, personal eBay postage as well, and any bills relating to the car. And last year, my total everything else category came to £1,409.70. That was higher than I was hoping, due to me almost blowing up my laptop, which, cost me over £400 to replace. This year, despite buying a new mobile phone and buying my underdesk treadmill, I have spent less this year. I have spent £1,196.60 in my everything else category, which means I have spent £213.10 less than last year. And I'm really hoping that next year will be even better, because unless something tragic happens, like my car needs a really major repair, or one of my new tech products gets broken, I shouldn't have any major expenses next year at all. Fingers crossed, because you never know when something might come up. So my total outgoings for the whole of 2024 has come to £14,669.53. That is everything. That includes all my personal outgoings, all my business outgoings. I lump it all in one go. So that's not too bad. It's up quite a bit on last year. Last year it was just over 13,000, so £13,066.48. But it could have been so much worse. What happens next year, I don't know. Expenses are obviously going to go up, but hopefully, because things like the everything else category, where I don't have to buy any tech, nothing needs renewing, hopefully I can claw some of that back and it won't be too bad next year either. Next, I'm going to do my income, which I will do separately. In a few days' time, I will have some more time on my own, because at the moment I'm away at my parents', and I've been here a few days, and I've managed to get a couple of hours where everyone's gone out to record this. I can't record things when people are around. And then in a few days' time, I've got like half a day when I can sit down and do the income, and I'm going to show you some more charts, and I've got a couple of pie charts as well, which are great, and I can talk about all the income, and then I can do a roundup, and that'll be the end of 2024. I'm still waiting for some income to come in, even though we are in the last days of 2024. I'm still doing surveys and still cashing in on survey sites, and there's a couple of other bits that I'm still waiting on as well. So my income might go up £10-20 by the end of this week and by the end of the year. So that's that, and so I will get back with the next bit very shortly. Today I'm in a field. We've had a freezing fog down for about 4 days. Look at this. Wonderfully atmospheric. We are halfway between Christmas and New Year, and I am trying to finish this post about my financial audit for 2024, and I want to get it out pretty much on New Year's Day, so that it's like closing off the old year and bringing in 2025 with a new set of spreadsheets, a new slate, a clean slate, and onwards and upwards. Gosh, it's muddy here. Church bells, it's Sunday morning. Anyway, so I've come out here because there is no privacy when I'm staying with my parents. Everyone is around every day. There's no way for me to sit and do this, which is tricky because I need to do my income for the year, and really what I want to do is refer to it on my spreadsheet so I get it right, so I don't miss anything. However, that's not going to happen. So I've written down on a piece of paper the basic numbers, which I can talk about, and then I will fill in the gaps in post-edit with information on the screen. So I'm just going to take myself to a vantage point so that when other walkers and dog walkers come past, I'm not interrupted. There's a line of trees in the distance that I can just stand at, and hopefully no one will come past. So I'm just going to go there, and then I shall pick you up in a moment. Okay, so hopefully none of these figures will change between now and the next few days when the year actually ends. I've had the same problem with my outgoings where one or two little extras have gone out since I recorded my information, but I'll update the numbers. It's not very much money. So this year I have done remarkably well. My income, I had a rough idea where it was going, and then in the last month it's increased incrementally, but in such a way that I've been really surprised at how much money I've earned this year. So my final outgoings, which have also crept up, my final outgoings for the whole of 2024 came to 15,219, which is the highest my expenses have ever been. But I have bought a few things this year which I would not normally buy. So I had the walking pad and I had the new phone, so things like that make a difference. My income came to £16,711 or thereabouts, and that's pretty amazing for me. I'll show you a chart which shows what my income has been like over the last few years. There's one for income and one for outgoings, so you can see what's been going on. So to see this sudden change has been quite a surprise, actually. It gives me a lot to aim for next year. Pressure's on. Now, my income comes from quite a range of sources. I've done a rough plot, and I think I probably do roughly a 40-hour week across a range of income sources, most of which are very low-key. They don't require an awful lot of effort on my part, and means I can chop and change and do different things and keep life less boring, because I am not good at routine. The routine of a 9 to 5 with a commute, stuck in an office, doing relatively dull, meaningless work for somebody else. I did that for a very long time, and it just destroys your brain cells in the end. So I like the way I work now. It gives me the option to increase or decrease certain work, and I like that autonomy. So let's run through the list of the different income streams I have and how much money I've made. So the first one I've got here is interest earned on savings. I move my savings around a lot depending on what the best accounts are, and of course in 2024 savings accounts have dropped drastically, but there still have been small pockets of savings. I use a drip feed effect, or a drip feed method, which is where I keep all my saving, or not all my savings, but a bulk of my savings in an accessible, reasonably high interest for the time, easy access account, and then I take out as many smaller accounts like regular savers and short-term fixed bonds as I can, and I move money across from there, and then when they're complete they go back into the easy access, and that has provided me this year with interest of £1,155.64, which is lower than last year. Next year I have a lot of regular savers and fixed bond accounts maturing. They're coming to the end, so there will be more interest coming in, and the interest on my easy access is paid once a year, so that will come out next year, and I don't know what that's going to be, so hopefully that'll push up next year's. But yes, so that's my interest earned on various savings accounts. I have easy access, I have fixed bonds for 6 months, I have regular savers, little loyalty savers, all sorts of accounts, and I just move the money around and grab what I can, basically. The next income stream I have is all the surveys that I do, and I will put a list at the side here of all the survey sites that I think are the best. I make a bit of money on other ones, like lower down, but this list is the best ones for making an income. If you're looking for 2 or 3 survey sites to boost your income or top up your money, I would choose one of these, and different survey sites suit different people. I have not made as much money this year on surveys. That's partly because I didn't try as hard this year. I was doing other things as well, but also because my phone was getting old, I lost access to a few of the good survey sites, so I wasn't making that income. So this year I made £1,714.18 across surveys and market research. Market research is where the money is, but because of the problems with my phone being older, I was having problems with phone access. The 4Gs have been temperamental, so I haven't been able to join some of the Zoom calls where you would do market research interviews and things, so that has held me back as well. I'm hoping that's going to be better in the new year. My new phone seems to have much better phone access, and I'm hoping that the 4Gs will be better in terms of the lag when I'm using it with the laptop. I'm going to test that out, but I think having a new phone with new software has definitely helped. The next thing is my little craft business. I haven't put in an enormous amount of effort this year. I finally got my creative mojo back in the summer and started making lots of new stuff, but it's been a tough year. And I know someone else has talked about how I need to get out of the mindset of no one's got any money, and I will address that separately. But the whole atmosphere of the economy and cost of living crisis has dampened my enthusiasm somewhat. I really need to work on this business in 2025. I've lost access to EU sales because they've changed the rules, and now I can't sell to the EU, as most small businesses now can't, thanks to the GPSR, and it doesn't make an enormous dent in my money because I wasn't selling a huge amount to the EU, but it's just another thing to worry about and another thing to deal with. So my income from my business this year came to £805. Now, I don't have many expenses on my business because I work from my spare room. I don't have to worry about renting a premises. My outgoings are very low for the business, so it does come in and profit. It's not costing me money to run, but it has been decreased back down to more of a hobby than an actual business, even though it is registered as a business and I do my self-assessment every year for tax purposes. Now, that income is better than the previous year. So there are some positives there, and I just need to make a plan and work harder at it. One of the reasons I haven't worked quite as hard at it is that other income streams have picked up the shortfall, which is why I've ended up with a larger income than I had expected this year. The next thing I've got is the universal credit, which my universal credit came to its end in August because I was on the protected year because I was moved from working tax credits. That has now ended, so I started mine in, I think it was September 2023, so half of my UC year was part of 2023 and half of it was 2024. So the money that came into me from universal credit for that protected year for 2024, which was January to August, was £3,945.11, and that has gone. That is the only income stream that I definitely can't get back again. I say income stream, money coming in that I can't get back again, and that is really going to be the gap for 2025 that I need to fill with other work. I also sell on Vinted. I sell personal items, so when I have a declutter of my own stuff, I put stuff on there. I also sell items as part of my clothing and design business, so items that fit with that go into that. And then I have the other business stuff that I declare, which is where people have given me all their stuff, like their clothes and various things, and I sell those almost as like a second-hand resale, but it's all going through Vinted. My personal items I sold this year came to £98. I don't have an awful lot of stuff to sell personally, but from other people, I have several people who give me their impulse purchases, unwanted stuff, various things, and that came to £218.54. And considering I never bought those things in the first place, and it's very minimal effort getting things onto Vinted, I think that's pretty good. I have a business that I call Etsy too, so I sell stuff for my dad on Etsy. He has a declutter every so often. A lot of it is vintage woodworking tools and carpentry things and stuff like that. And this year, so we split it between us, so I get half of the money earned because I did the work, he gets half because he owned the item, and I've made this year £46.43. I used to do really well at this, but all the good stuff sold a few years ago. We started doing this in 2020, made a bit of a killing in the first year or so, but now we're down to the last little bits and pieces, and they're not so collectible or usable by people. So it's just a small amount, so it'll be double that for in terms of actual profit, but of course it's Etsy as well, so there's fees and postage and all the other stuff. So that was my personal income from that, and again I declare that on my self-assessment. My other big earner this year is from the cleaning work. So I have 4 clients, 3 are through the agency, 1 is private. They don't pay a lot, and someone has commented that it's probably about time that, now that I'm experienced at that and I've been doing it for just over a year, that I should start trying to replace those clients with private ones and start charging more per hour, which is definitely something I'm going to look at. If I can find clients that I can replace the agency and get off the agency, then I will. I'm not in a desperate rush for that. The money is going to be higher in 2025 because I gained an extra client towards the end of 2024, but my income from that for 2024 was £4,873 and 1 penny. I only do 10 hours a week on average, but I have one client that's 3 hours every 2 weeks, so it goes up and down, but it averages out across the year at 10 hours a week. 2 of the clients are over the road from where I live, so that's minimal effort. 1 is a short distance drive away, and I often use that drive to record YouTube videos because it's a different environment. I have 1 that's slightly longer. that's the most recent client that I think I am probably going to drop at some point, because the drive isn't huge, but when it's a minimum wage, it's not worth it. So I have already told the agency that I'm thinking of dropping that one, but I need to replace it first. So we'll see how we get on with that. For now, it's okay. It's 3 hours every fortnight. It's not really a big deal, but that's something to work on. Cash, miscellaneous cash. Cash comes from various places. I got like a Christmas bonus from one of my cleaning clients. They always give out money to people who work for them, so the window cleaner gets a bit, I get a bit, whatever. So there's money there, and there's a couple of other things as well where I have accrued cash, and that came to £74.75. That's whatever it is. Donations. So donations to my YouTube channel, some of them come through on YouTube via Super Thanks. It's really hard to track the Super Thanks, because unless you check your comments religiously every single day and check every single one, because they appear as part of a comment, and when you go back into the list of Super Thanks, you can't find out where it came from to say thank you to the person. So I have had some, but I can't work out where they all come from. There wasn't a huge amount, and I will put the details up here because I didn't write that information down. I've listed here coffee. The YouTube Super Thanks I've listed as part of my YouTube income. But coffee is a donation site that people can use if they want to donate to the work that I do on my YouTube channel. A few people are regular donators. Thank you for that. Some people donate directly through PayPal. So there's various ways you can do it depending on how you want to do it. They all charge fees. Coffee, because it goes through PayPal, PayPal charges fees. So not all the money comes to me. But this year I've made £377.79 in donations from various sources from you guys. So thank you ever so much for that. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a massive difference. Everything makes a massive difference. And following on from that is YouTube. YouTube's a tricky one because YouTube pays on the 24th of the month for the previous month. So my December income won't come through until the 24th of January. So theoretically it's December income, but as I don't get the money until next year, it counts on the 2025 income. So I've only counted the months where I've had the money in the bank. And I got monetised just before Christmas 2023, so this is my first full year monetised on YouTube. I have talked about YouTube and whether it's worth it for the money in a previous post recently. But I've done a little bit of a breakdown because I'm now at the end of the year and I know how many videos I've posted and I know what I've made for 2024 because I had my last physical payment from them on the 24th or thereabouts of December for November. So YouTube has paid me all in £1,976.71. Google also takes tax, so I don't make all the money, and it takes a reasonable amount of that money, to be honest with you. And people who are on YouTube don't get an awful lot of the revenue from the ads. So it is what it is. Now, I've done some calculations based on the number of videos that I have uploaded for 2024, and at time of recording this I still have a couple of videos scheduled to get me through to the end of the year. I've worked out that based on that amount of money I've made and not including the December income, which I won't get until January, I will have earned £9.15 per video on average. That doesn't mean I made £9.15 per video, but if I look at the number of videos I've made over the course of the year and the total amount of money I've earned from YouTube, and if you averaged it out, it would be £9.15 per video. That would average at £164 per month from YouTube. And let's say I spend on average 3 hours a day doing YouTube. I don't. There will be days when I do nothing at all, but there will be days when I do a lot. I might be hiking all day and therefore I'm recording for 3 or 4 hours, and then it's 3 days of longish days doing the editing, so it all kind of balances out. I worked out that if I did 3 hours a day on editing and recording and stuff, that total earning from YouTube would make me £1.80 per day. So unless you are one of these high-end fake channels that's like an influencer making loads of money, and those channels, to be honest with you, don't really make that money, because a lot of them they spend a lot of money on equipment and stuff, and a lot of them end up needing staff to manage the channels and things like that, so they're not making all that money. But a little channel like mine, I don't know, mine's probably roughly an average, I don't know. So that's the income on that. 3 more things to go. One is mum and dad, so my parents will give me like small checks whenever I come down, and it's almost like living inheritance, you know. They're giving us money that is not inheritance related, but they just do it. My brother gets a lot more money than me every month. They pay for his eldest daughter's private schooling. She goes to a regular school, but because she has dyslexia and has needed help, she's had to go to a private school 2 classes a week to help get her back up to the levels, because regular schools can't cope with children that can't keep up with learning. It's been an absolute miracle worker, but it costs £1,000 a month, and my parents are paying for that because my brother and his wife, despite both being in full-time income, cannot make those payments, and that's fine. I don't mind. Sorry, I had to change phones. I forgot to charge my camera phone up before I came out this morning. Anyway, so it might look slightly different because I'm now on my new regular phone. So yeah, so it doesn't bother me with that. I never ask my parents for money. I never have. So those little checks every quarter basically go into savings. I think they think that I need it to spend, but I just put it in the savings. 2 more things to go. One is the medical evaluations work that I do. 2 years ago I did a study. It was something like an 8-day study with a few visits, and I made £2,500 doing that. They pay well, but it's getting them. So I applied for a study in I think it was May this year, and didn't pass that, not because there was anything wrong, but you don't pass everything, but they do pay you just to do the evaluation. It's a 3-hour full medical, so you get a nice free medical out of it, so you know there's nothing wrong with you, and I got paid £145. I'm going to reapply for new studies in, I think there's someone walking a dog. I'm going to apply for new studies in 2025, but there hasn't been much around. The problem is that because I'm now doing the cleaning work, it's getting in the way of me being able to do those studies, because most of them will want you in the medical unit for X amount of time, and if it's 3 or 4 or 5 days, that's not such a big deal. But the one that I really wanted to do this year, and it was like 14 days in the unit, which is great, it's a load of money, but then I've got to say for 2 weeks I'm not doing any cleaning work, and if I miss too many cleaning jobs, people are just going to start looking for new cleaners. This is why I didn't want to do the cleaning work, because it's the kind of commitment that stops me from doing the other things which are better payers. But I will see what happens in 2025. And then the last thing was I sold some copies of my book this year, and that came to £58.52. So that is my income for 2024. So that's 13 different income streams, or money coming in from 13 different places, which has made up my income, and it keeps my life vaguely interesting. I know that my life probably doesn't seem very interesting, but I've had some really nice comments from people on some of my recent videos where I've talked about, is my channel too boring and things, saying, you know, it's real life. You are reminding us of real life, and that you know, we're kind of all in it together, so that's really good. So I am going to carry on as I am. The YouTube income isn't massive, but it's an important part of my life, and it is a valuable income stream. And if I can do better at my channel and do it in a slightly more scripted way. I do ramble a lot, I know, and I know a lot of people like the rambling, but some people say slightly too much rambling, and I know that I ramble too much. So I need to rein things in a little bit, make more notes so that I can talk more directly on things rather than going round about the houses a bit, and edit a bit more. And maybe I can improve the channel to make more money next year. People have given me ideas of the sort of things they would like me to be talking about or talking about more. So I've definitely taken all that on board. I've made some notes, and I'm going to look at how I can structure my videos better so that I post less often, because I post too much for the money that's coming in. I've been posting every other day this year, and it's just a bit crazy. So that's all stuff that I will talk about next year, and I can work on that. But that has been my income. I'm going to put up here now 2 pie charts. One is my outgoings for the year, and one is the income, and you can see how things look overall across the year. If you will notice when you look at the one that's got the outgoings, that the big problem is the same with everyone's big problem, is housing. Look how much of my outgoings are taken up by rent. I think it says 55%, which they used to say a 30% rule on housing. You shouldn't, 33% or 30% should go to housing. Now that doesn't work anymore, because as we know, housing has changed a lot in the last few years. I've heard of people paying 70 or 80% of their income into housing, and it's got really, really bad now. And I've just seen an article talking about the house prices in my region and how that much they've gone up in the last year. And it's no wonder I can't afford to move anywhere else, because the prices in areas that I wouldn't want to live in is much greater than what I'm paying at the moment. And it really worries me, because it sets a bar, it sets a precedent for landlords to say, well, if all those other areas are £200 or £300 a month more, that means I can put my rent up that. And they can. And it may get to a point where I cannot afford to stay there anymore, which is why I need to really work on my income this year. Anyway, so there will be more money-based posts coming up soon. The beginning of the new year heralds a new set of challenges, because more my big bills come out in the first half of the year. The first challenge is going to be my car insurance, and I'm going to do a post on that. Someone asked me to do a detailed post about how I keep car insurance costs down and how I shop around. I've literally yesterday started looking at that, and because my renewal is due in a month, and I know that my current insurer is going to try and screw me up, or screw me over should I say, as it did last year. And I will do a separate post on that, because I'm looking at quotes now and seeing if I can get that down. So I'll do a separate post on that, so keep an eye out for that. That will be coming fairly soon, because I shall probably be purchasing that new policy pretty quickly if I see a really good deal. So that's the end of this post. This post is really long because, you know, it's an entire year's financial audit. There's a lot going out, there's a lot coming in, everything's quite complicated, but it's manageable. I find it easy to manage. I keep very comprehensive spreadsheets, I keep an eye on my money, I'm disciplined with it, and I've been doing it for a long time, so it's like second nature now, just managing money properly. So it probably looks complicated to you if you don't do this sort of thing, but you might find some tips in there on how to improve your money management, your budgeting, or how you keep your records, whatever. I know that people do find it useful. So that's my entire 2024 money in and out. It's the end of the year. The most important thing I can say about 2024 is that I'm not in debt. Although my income and my outgoings are relatively low compared to most people, the important thing is that I earned more money than I spent. I came out in profit. And that money that's left, the difference, the profit margin, goes into savings. I keep everything as rainy day funds. It means that if I need to buy something like a mobile phone, I'm not panicking at how I can afford it. The money is there, but I don't spend it unnecessarily. So yeah, I made a profit this year. A small one, but I made a profit. I have no debt. I have no credit card debt. I have no loans. I don't pay for anything out of pocket. Everything is accounted for, and I made more money than I spent this year. So that, I think, in 2024 is a big win, because money ain't easy these days. So that's it. I'm going to go now because I'm freezing cold, because I've been standing still in a field with a light breeze and a freezing fog for however long I've been doing this, and I'd like to go home now because I can't feel my hands anymore. Anyway, so I hope you found that interesting. Do add comments and questions if you're unsure about anything. I realise that it can get quite complicated, but so I've put stuff on the screen all the way through, so hopefully it'll make more sense, and then you can like hit pause if you want to read something that I've put up, and hopefully you will find that useful if you're trying to relook at your expenses and your income streams and things for 2025. There'll be some good advice in there, hopefully. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of my financial audit for 2024, and it's been a big one. Onwards and upwards. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.